right. Hello and welcome to Better Than B, where we hope to provide you with A-list entertainment and commentary. I am James Armstrong, and to my right is...
I am James Waddington.
Still rocking the badass hat.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm going to wear it probably tomorrow at work.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, let's get right into it here. Our first topic of the day. I have had the fortune to see Atomic Blonde, and I liked the film. I thought that Charlize Theron continues to kick a lot of butt on the big screen. She had already done a little bit of that in the latest Fast and Furious movie, which came out earlier this year in April, and she was really the main highlight of that movie. Everyone else kind of fell flat, I'm sorry to say, but I'm getting sidetracked. But I enjoyed it. Like I said, good action. Actors all around were great. On top of Charlize, we had James McAvoy and John Goodman. And
I always forget he was in that. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I do remember him briefly in the trailer.
Yeah, you had him.
I always enjoyed John Goodman.
And Sophia Boutella and Toby Jones.
Oh, hell of a cast.
Yeah, great cast all around. If I did have a beef, though, I got held back from enjoying the movie more than I should have, because to me, there were parts of it where it was just kind of a basic spy thriller where you're not sure if so-and-so is a double agent,
right,
or someone gets double-crossed, but then they're triple-crossed. Kind of stuff like that, maybe it's just because I've seen too many Mission Impossible movies or James Bond movies. I've almost become immune to that type of storyline.
Sure.
And this leads us into our first topic, which is, has there ever been a moment where you see a trailer to a movie, and Atomic Blonde was a very action-heavy package that they presented in the trailer, and you saw the final product and it didn't quite deliver what you wanted, and did that negatively or maybe, positively affect the way you felt about the movie? James?
Yes, I have a I don't want to call it a cliche version of this, but I'm a huge animated fan. I love animated movies. I love animated cartoons. I mean, I love kid cartoons and adult cartoons like Archer and Venture Brothers and Metalocalypse and stuff like that. But I also like the kid stuff too. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the Star Wars, and I've liked a lot of the Cartoon Network shows that came out, Teen Titans Go and stuff like that. But on Cartoon Network, of course, there was Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Ooh.
And of course, this is a cliche version of did not meet expectations. But when you watch the trailer, especially the first trailer, you meet Aang for the first time. You're like, this is going to be a hell of an adaptation of the beloved cartoon. And you go and watch the film, you're like, this is garbage. You get so frustrated like that. And it is just a single, utter nightmare. But getting off that bandwagon for a minute, as far as again another trailer that was maybe not as I expected it to be. I know you were going to mention it, but I'm going to mention it as well. Maybe you can dive more into it. Was Inglourious Basterds?
Oh, yeah.
But I think for a different reason. When I saw Inglourious Basterds, I thought it was going to be a typical World War II style movie where it followed the actual events of history, and it was going to be maybe in the same frame as the first Inglourious, the original Inglourious Basterds. Way wrong on that one, and I credit Quentin Tarantino on a good way for making a fantastic fable and a great film. One of my probably top 20 movies of all time. I love that movie. Thoughts?
Yeah, that was going to be my example, because in the...
I think, but a different reason, I think.
Yeah, because in the trailers I had seen to it, I thought it was going to be more action-heavy and just kind of guys going around Europe killing Nazis.
Yeah, and I got that out of the trailer, too.
I got it out of the trailer, but then, of course, from the very first scene, it's that splendidly acted and choreographed scene of Hans Landa slowly breaking that French farmer.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like, just from that scene alone, I thought, okay, this is not going to be the movie I expected, but it was changed in a positive way.
Right.
Like, I thought there'd be, say, more machine gun fights and not as many Mexican standoffs, and
maybe more Saving Private Ryan, less.
I don't know. Kind of hard to pick another example for it, because I don't know. I thought it was going to be. I'm trying to think of another really good example for it, because I think, let's see, Inglourious Basterds was 2009. So Quentin Tarantino was coming off of the Grindhouse project that he did with, the one he did with Robert Rodriguez. And I thought that this was him still being in that 70s mindset where we were going to get kind of a just gritty shoot 'em up type type action flick.
Yeah.
So that's the mentality I thought. Little did I know, I think this is when Quentin Tarantino was starting to dive into his spaghetti western mentality, because he definitely brought that into, what was it? I can't think right now. I'm just having a hard time putting my
The spaghetti
timeline
western,
together.
Not Magnificent Seven. It was Anyway, I know. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, folks. I've just lost my train of thought. This is what happens when you're.
It happens.
This is what happens when you forget your pen and you don't write things down.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I would call Django so much as spaghetti western influence, but maybe I can see that here and there. But again, it's just expectations of a trailer where you want to see an action heavy piece, and then you get typical Quentin Tarantino dialogue instead.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. It was, if you weren't expecting a Quentin Tarantino movie out of this, and you go and see a typical, because it's Quentin Tarantino was snappy on that dialogue. He was very snappy. He has a very particular way of writing and dialogue, and he's one of the best writers, I think, as far as original filmmaking goes, that is existence today, yesterday, and tomorrow. Like, is fantastic. And going into Inglourious Basterds, not knowing what style he was going with, and then we get that first dialogue scene, I'm like, this is Quentin Tarantino written all over it immediately. But I didn't expect it later on. You know, the alternate history of World War II. That I did not see that coming. I was not expecting that.
Spoiler alert: we killed Hitler.
Exactly. So that in itself is something I didn't expect. So,
and my train of thought just got back on the tracks. I was trying to reference Kill Bill Volume 2, which is clearly influenced by spaghetti western. So I was going forward in time after Inglourious Basterds when I meant to go back in time. So,
that's the Kill Bills in general was like a Western style, but told in a very particular Japanese style film. So it was it's a good reference. I wouldn't have thought of that. So.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So, but if you haven't already, check out Atomic Blonde and make your own decision on whether or not you want to give the movie a thumbs up or a thumbs down or kind of a middle. And
I agree.
Moving on to our next topic. This is something that we just started as we were in the Fourth Friday show, but the, I guess, pros and cons of changing directors for a major project. So I think that you were correct in pointing out that the two examples that I had used were vastly different. You have a Justice League and a Han Solo movie example. One was due for Zack Snyder obviously having a family situation he had to deal with, very serious matter, and the Han Solo movie was because these guys maybe just weren't doing their job as they should have. There were problems getting shots set up, and they might have been running behind schedule. So I guess the underlying thing I have with both is that I guess I've been kind of in a bad mood about the Justice League thing, specifically with, I guess you can call them fans or people who report the news about the movie, because there was a little bit of resentment that built up with me.
Film punditry, almost kind of what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Film pundits. There we go. I'm gonna go after the pundits because I don't want to take a shot at the fans. That'd be a dick move on my part. But there were people who reported that
some fans need it though. Let's be real.
But there were some people who reported the Zack Snyder story, not talking about Zack Snyder, but reporting Joss Whedon is directing Justice League, and it's almost like they were presenting it as good news.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times when you get a new director coming in for major projects, you especially with a name like Joss Whedon, you see the headline: Joss Whedon directs Justice League. And we're like, yeah, I'm down with that. I loved him what he did with his other superhero films. Fantastic. I love the guy. He knows how to write stories. He knows how to write superheroes. Good to go. But when they don't run the underlying story as to why, that's the problem.
Okay.
I'm fine with how they say it. It's just as long as they mention why he's taking over. I'm speaking specifically for the Joss Whedon situation and Zack Snyder. That's a tragic situation, and I hope nobody has to deal with that. Yeah. I do like what the studios wanted to do. They wanted to put the whole project on the sidelines and let Zack Snyder grieving process go through, be with his family, like just come back to this movie when you're ready. And that was excellent for the studio. I think they really enjoyed what Zack Snyder was bringing to Justice League, and the tone and the direction and the story. And he was like, no, I think it's in good hands with Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
I respect him as a filmmaker. I respect him as a storyteller. So that to me is completely, I feel is completely different than pulling a director because they're doing a bad job on a film and replacing them with somebody else, mainly on those grounds of, at that point, whose film is it?
Yeah.
So
That's the hazy thing.
that is, and we're going to get a lot of that with Justice League. You know, what film portions were filmed with Zack Snyder, what storylines were going to be Joss Whedon, and that's fine. That's completely acceptable. I'm going to reference the Han Solo. So we had Lauren Miller get pulled, and then we had Ron Howard brought in, and that was for maybe creative differences, I guess you could say. That I have a bit of I do have a problem with.
Right.
So I'm on the lines with you. We're like, you know, they stuck it out this far. We're this late in the game. We're like a month away from the reshoots. This is like a month ago, so we're already in the reshoots at this point. So why kick him to this curb now? Why not just go at and hound your editor, make it this way instead? That way, you know, you can work with the film you got. I know you want to make the best product possible by maybe bringing in a big known director like Ron Howard, and that's completely acceptable. Disney has the right to do that. But like you said in the other show, you run the risk of having that become the norm or the okay to pull a director from a film, but just because you don't like the way it's going and not maybe understanding where the direction they wanted to take it. I know it's not maybe their property to do that, but you hired them for a reason.
Yeah.
So.
Or like even back with Rogue One, there was the rumor that Gareth Edwards did not direct most of the reshoots.
Which is also completely fine. That's why you have a second unit director. You have a first unit and a second unit, and sometimes you even have a third unit director, depending on how big and far your movie goes. Like if your movie travels, maybe you have a director who's going to be filming in this location. You're going to have your main director is going to be really part of the story on this particular characters. You have first, second, and third unit directors for a reason, and that's fine. If you want to have a different director come in and do the reshoots, I'm sure that was all part of the contract. Like if you're not available to do it, are you okay with this person coming in? Maybe it's like, you know what, maybe not him, maybe this guy can do it because I trust him to tell this story and to make it better. So there's always underlying factors that we don't know, which is fine. I just wish that maybe punditries, especially who really do the big scoops and make these big articles, that go and dig deeper, not just have clickbait and and then get the whole internet up in an uproar because of this one thing from this one article that they took out of this out of context of this other article. It's just a terrible idea, but that's what happens. That's why we talk about things like this. It's, you know, that's how the news rolls sometimes. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, just as long. I think we're both in agreement, just as long as in the future, you know, the studios don't approach it from a perspective of, oh, we're halfway through again, let's just kick this guy aside and put our guy in charge.
And that puts a lot of strains on the actors too, because if you suddenly bring in a new director who wants to take it in a new direction, the actors have to go back and rethink their characters and re-get into a character that they maybe spent 6 months studying for or getting into the mindset of. Now they have to change it all of a sudden. It's going to be really choppy and really horrible acting that I know a lot of the senior actors can probably do and a lot of well-established actors can do. But if you're casting a lot of new people who are maybe not used to big Hollywood productions, it's going to be a shock. You're not going to get good performances out of them. So
good point.
It's a bad idea all around, and I don't think it will be the norm. I think it's a case by case basis. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's my soapbox statements on that.
There we go. Right on. And I'm sure that, well, hopefully this topic doesn't come up too much in the future, and it's just these 2 projects.
And they need to be talked about, and then we need to figure out why they happen and understand the circumstances behind each one. Was Disney right of pulling Lauren Miller from Star Wars? Maybe. Was Zack Snyder, you know, the best decision for him to step away? Probably. So again, it's a case by case basis.
There we go.
So,
but as always, let's make sure that we think things through before we render judgment.
Yeah, and read multiple sources on stories.
Yeah.
Don't just stick to your one outlet. Go get a second opinion or a third opinion. Maybe you follow somebody who has an opposite opinion to you because they get their stories from somewhere else, and just kind of compare and contrast maybe what you think is the best for you.
And just because it's on Facebook doesn't make it true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Facebook is the worst. It's up there with
God.
like Reddit
like side note, this week
and Wiki.
yeah, like this week a rumor hit the internet that luckily none of my friends asked me about. I think they were smart enough to know that it was a bunch of BS. But there's a rumor that Ben Affleck had signed for 3 more Batman movies and a Batman Beyond movie. I'm like, guys, come on. That would make more of a splash if it was true.
Yeah, so if we're gonna get into that, so if you have an actor who's already on the fence about maybe coming back as a character, and he's like, oh, I heard that he was announced for 3 more movies and no.
So yeah, make sure you bookmark Variety or the Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, they're usually
one
pretty
of the
solid.
major trades.
Yeah, those are pretty solid when it comes to Hollywood stuff coming out of Hollywood.
Exactly.
That's where we get a lot of our news stories from.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah. And moving on to 2 little bits of movie news, we had the director of the Shazam movie, whose name unfortunately I'm blanking on right now.
Doesn't The Rock sign on to be in Shazam?
Well, he's going to be Black Adam.
Black Adam,
and he's apparently getting his own separate film. And
we talked about this last time.
Yeah, we did. And they're moving forward with Shazam. And the director, again, whose name I apologize, I'm forgetting, came out and said this is going to be the more fun DC movie. And will, I think, definitely appeal to kids, because he said, what kid has not wanted to be Superman? And here's a kid in Billy Batson who gets to be Superman.
Right. I know we talked about this last time.
You were very keen on that, so now we see those words coming from the director himself.
Because he watches this show, obviously.
There you go.
That's I would say it's plagiarism. He can have it. But
just give James a cameo in Shazam and you'll be fine.
I'll just be a background character. I don't care. It don't matter to me none.
He can bring the hat.
Yeah, Star Wars reference in all movies is always a good thing. But yeah, no. If they're bringing, did the new director come on or?
Well, he was announced as the director, okay. I think, just before Comic-Con.
Yeah. I'm fine. That's great. Anything to move this story and this movie forward and production is great. I want to see Shazam. Shazam is one of my, not favorite characters in DC, but he's up there. Like he's not the like the title characters of DC fame, but he's definitely a fun character because he was a little boy, and then bam, he can turn into somebody almost as great as Superman, or if not better. So it's gonna be it's gonna be a kid friendly story. It's fantastic. I know a lot of people are like, but it's DC. It's supposed to be dark and no, read some classic DC comics like Adventure Comic, or I'll use Adventure Comic as a great example. The early Adventure Comics were not dark. They were just as on par with Marvel. I know DC came out right before Marvel really did with the X-Men and all that, but they weren't dark. They were stories of adventure and of heroism and good versus evil, and good always won. So it's not like it was from a dark universe. I know what we think of DC now is a lot darker. But making this a kid-friendly, more family film is fantastic. I think that's what they need. I think DC needs to lighten the F up and get on board with what Marvel's doing with their films. And they hit it out of the park with Wonder Woman. Let's move it forward.
And credit where credit's due, we had the Lego Batman movie earlier this year, so it was
more
nice
to my point.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, so it was nice to see a kid-friendly movie with the DC logo on there.
DC,
yeah,
the house that Batman built.
Yeah. Come at me, bro. I am your kryptonite.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point.
So as long as I can get my
DC
dark,
just needs to lighten up.
Yeah, but as long as I can get my dark and brooding Batman, fine, give a movie to the kids.
And I'm fine with that.
Let's get everything.
When the Batman comes out, or when Justice League comes out, and we get that dark brooding Batman, the Ben Affleck Batman, or if he doesn't want to stay on board for the Batman, that's fine as long as it's that dark Batman. I would say I love the Dark Knight trilogy. It was gritty, especially that second one, with Heath Ledger's Joker. That to me was the pinnacle of what makes a Batman movie, because it had the best of both worlds. You had the good guy trying to be good, but had to break his vows perhaps to do what needs to be done. You had the evilnesses of evil, and
a lot of kids got scared watching that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
And a lot of people died in the movie. It's like that's exactly how. And if you watched BVS, Batman in particular, Batman gave no Fs. He was done and done being the I won't kill anybody. That's what makes me good. No, he's like, nope. If you're bad, you're gone. And
do not bring a grenade to a Batman fight.
Exactly. and that's okay too. Having a wide variety of different types and of tones of films in a genre is completely fine. And I think finally DC's understanding that, because Marvel does it excellent every single time. We've got the comedic aspects of Guardian of the Galaxy. We've got adventure-y sort of Ant-Man and the Wasp. We got the spy with who does the spy ones? It's
Black Widow.
yeah. So we have like the spy stories. We've got everything blends in together.
And Nick Fury also is the spy.
Exactly. So everything blends together beautifully in the Marvel world. I think finally, DC is getting on board with that. Not that there's anything wrong with what they were doing before, but it clearly didn't work.
Just diversify a little bit.
Exactly. Just lighten the F up.
And you named our next little topic, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp has apparently gone into production.
Yeah, so on the interwebs, you will see they actually had two. They had the casting chairs, and it said Ant-Man and the Wasp, and had their logo on it that they kind of came out with. But in a very hilarious version of that, they had an itty-bitty chair and two itty-bitty chairs, directing chairs, and it had
nice.
It said Ant-Man and it said Wasp,
Aw.
now in production. And it was the best thing I'd ever seen, at least for today. And that to me is how a good marketing campaign should really kick off. Is like, yes, they're going to be small superheroes. Let's make them a small chair to sit in. And that's up there with the Deadpool marketing for me. I'm like, that's keep it up, guys. I mean, it gives you light when there's so much darkness around with normal news. And it's like, yes, you're doing it right. You are the humanity that I look for.
Yeah, I remember walking past a Marvel standee for Ant-Man. It was just a big whiteboard with a tiny little Ant-Man in the middle of it.
Yeah, great marketing. You're like, what is it? Oh, it's Ant-Man.
Yeah, just like, Ant-Man, I shall crush you.
He's like, no, no. Yeah. It's to me, it's fantastic. As long as they keep up that's what we can talk about.
Ooh.
I'm gonna bring it up right now. The first image of Domino.
Oh,
from
there
Deadpool.
you go. There you go.
Speaking of
Deadpool.
great marketing,
Come on, man.
So, have you seen this?
Well, I'm just going to quickly say that I'm glad
Okay.
Michelle Pfeiffer is joining
Yes.
the cast of Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's good casting. I do have to admit, my early 90s memory flipped itself for a little bit, and for a split second, instead of Michelle Pfeiffer, I pictured Glenn Close, which would be interesting because Michael Douglas is Hank Pym in this movie, and we would have been, like, in my mind, this close to a Fatal Attraction reunion in Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Yeah,
which would have been
that's true.
awkward. But thank God Michelle Pfeiffer is coming into it. Brilliant actress. Love her.
Absolutely. And it's good to see her in something as fun as no superhero movies are cliches. Like, oh, have you been in a superhero movie yet? Ant-Man and the Wasp, or Ant-Man, if you haven't seen the first Ant-Man, it's a blast of a film.
And I like it when people come back to the comic book franchises. Like sometimes it's for redemption. Like Daredevil was forgotten about when Ben became Batman. Michelle Pfeiffer, let's not forget, was Catwoman.
Yeah, she was. She was the first. Was it the first one on screen?
Batman Returns, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that to me is great. I mean, Halle Berry didn't do anything for
that doesn't
Catwoman.
count.
So having Michelle Pfeiffer come back to a superhero genre, especially something that's so fun as Ant-Man. If you didn't see the first Ant-Man, you're really missing out. Hilarious film, great sort of superhero film that it's the everyman superhero, kind of like what you hope Tony Stark would be, but he's the everyman super rich man superhero. So it's fantastic. But Michelle Pfeiffer coming
And
back is
speaking of female characters, going back to your point, we get a look at Domino. I almost forgot that Deadpool 2 is coming out next year, I suppose.
It's they're already in production. There was a behind the scenes leak photo. It didn't really tell us anything. Like, there wasn't really spoiler stuff. I think it had Deadpool and a looks like a little kid party. Hilarious.
Okay.
But the first official photo came out. I know we had that teaser trailer with Deadpool. Did you see that teaser trailer?
But the one that was before, well,
it was he was changing in a phone booth.
okay, well, see, you haven't seen Logan yet, so
I haven't, no, it's up there.
that actually played before Logan, and
Okay.
it's a theatrical release,
Okay.
which I appreciate because it didn't come after the movie, so
Right.
you don't need to wait through the credits for it to appear. And that way you also give the movie theater ushers time to clean up. You're not wasting their time sitting in a theater waiting for a clip. I have a very complicated relationship with post-credit scenes. I just want y'all to know that.
Can you tell he works at a theater?
Yeah. but no, that played before the movie,
Okay.
and it was a nice reminder that
they're
Deadpool's
working on
coming
it,
up,
yeah.
and also he might be a little more unhinged than when we saw him last. I mean,
Yeah.
in that clip, he kind of let a guy die.
Yeah, he didn't mean to. It just sort of he took his time changing into his
did?
anyway. So the first production photo came out of Deadpool, and you had Domino laying on top of Deadpool, and that first pose we saw from the very first marketing campaign of him in front of the fireplace, fantastic. This is not the Domino we've seen in the comic books or in any of the games or anything. It's a completely different take, and I'm completely okay with that. She looks completely badass. It looks fantastic, and I think they're going to keep that same marketing tone that they had for the first one. And if they do that, it's going to kill it no matter where they put it. I forget what day it's supposed to be released. I don't think it's in February. I think it's going to be a summer blockbuster.
Yeah, I want to say it was.
But they should move it back
summer.
to February because it just annihilated February. So
What's coming out in February?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Black Panther is coming out in February. So
That'll kill it, too.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
it's
that date is already taken. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, February we already got competition. Black Panther looks awesome.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. You don't want those two going head to head. Now, I'm not all that familiar with the Domino character. Can you give us a brief rundown of her?
Domino is very similar in respects to Deadshot.
Okay.
So if you think Deadshot from
Yeah.
most people know from Suicide
She's an
Squad.
assassin.
She's an assassin.
Okay.
And she has a dead shot. It's kind of like Deadshot, where he's got a great vision for killing people. He's got his sights and scopes. He's got an eye for it. He'll kill you no matter what he's got in his hand. Domino's the same way, but she's got more of a mutant power to it.
Oh, really?
She has the ability of almost foresight, and the ability to, again, being a damn good shot with pretty much everything.
Can she like curve the bullets like in Wanted?
No, but she can sense things before they happen, like almost like using the Force, but in more of a practical way.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it's because they're from a mutant universe. She has a mutant power.
Okay.
And her mutant power. I know I'm simplifying this. Comment below. Let us know how bad I'm screwing this up. But yeah, it's a Deadshot type character, but Domino came out before Deadshot did. So she's an assassin who's a very good shot and very good fighter and a very good lover, and she's Deadpool's interest because she can also she has a small healing factor that brings her back to life. Not necessarily to life, but she can heal wounds, not quickly, but she does heal.
That does kind of not concern me, but it interests me a little bit because you spent all of Deadpool hoping he would shack up with Morena Baccarin again. And in this movie, I guess he has a new romantic interest. So
I don't know how they're going to spin it.
How they're going to? Yeah. Well, makes you wonder.
Deadpool's interest in Domino is only from a curious standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah. He sees a woman who's on par with him because remember Wade Wilson is a special forces fighter who knows how to kill with no problem, and with his healing factors, he's more quick. He can obviously heal himself, and he can't die. So if you find someone who's his match competitively, then he's just going to be enamored with them. That's how it's portrayed in the comics, right? So it's like, oh, you're similar to me. Let's throw down and see who wins. And Domino pretty much wins every time in a hand-to-hand fight.
Okay.
Of course, Deadpool can't die, right? So, but she tries. She tries to kill him, and he runs his mouth all. He's marked with the mouse, so he gets what's coming to him. So it'll be a very good dynamic to see on screen. They will keep that hard R, and it'll be fantastic, and it'll be an event for the summer. Let's put it that way. I know there are a lot of good movies coming out next year, but that's going to be one of the best ones.
Yeah. I haven't looked at the full schedule for next year, but I think this year has already been pretty jam-packed of a lot of good content.
Yeah,
we're not even done yet.
I know we're not. It's been a great year for movies. Speaking of movies, we got one last topic: production planning. When I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. When you're a director and you have one successful film, we'll say Avatar. Avatar was a good film. James Cameron's a fantastic director. Does wonderful work with cinematography, storytelling, writing. But then you run your mouth and say, "I'm going to make 4 of these things." With James Cameron, you go, "I kind of believe you." You have the director, writer, creator for the new more Power Rangers.
Oh yeah.
Made one.
They made one.
I'm gonna make 7 of these things.
Yeah.
And the first one tanked. how do you feel about them announcing 4, 5, 6, 7 films in a franchise, and then the first one just sucks so bad?
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Like, call me a Batman fan, but whenever you're planning to take on a franchise and put some new vigor into it, follow what Chris Nolan did. And God bless Matt Reeves for saying almost the exact same thing when he was talking to the press a while back. But try to make one good movie before you plan for everything else. Like Nolan, what he did with Batman Begins was he put everything he wanted to into Batman Begins. There was no talk
movie.
of saving something for a sequel,
Right.
or like knowing ahead of time, okay, we're going to do this in the second movie, we're going to do this in the third movie. Like, could you imagine if Nolan had announced 3 movies back in 2004?
People are like, oh, way to go, Peter Jackson.
Right.
Not
right.
happening.
You're right. That would have been maybe the one exception of them announcing them like a trilogy and then following up and meeting with great success. But no, like he did all that. You watch The Dark Knight, and beautiful movie, and same principle. He said, let's put everything we can into this movie. Let's even have a good story arc for the Harvey Dent character, and it worked. And so people were like, no, you should save Two-Face for the third movie, and I disagree. I think he fits in perfectly with Dark Knight.
Yeah, I think having in that scenario having Two-Face in the third one would have been a weird shoehorn him in there.
Yeah,
like, oh, you remember this guy from last movie? We're gonna bring him back from this. Yeah. And Batman had such a diverse, villain list that they could have picked anybody. I mean, I'm happy they didn't go with the Penguin. So Danny DeVito. It was Danny DeVito, right? Yeah. You couldn't. I don't think you could beat it.
But that's like that's Tim Burton's Penguin. That's not the Penguin.
I know, but they worked. It's a classic film for me, and I.
When was the last time you rewatched Batman Returns?
Not that long ago, and
really?
I still enjoyed it. Yeah.
I do a thing where I rewatch it every Christmas. Every year, it almost gets worse.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's to each their own. That's why films are subjective.
Exactly. So. But yeah, it's just I guess with the modern day, like I was watching a video where Michael Uslan, who was the executive producer on all the Batman films, was being interviewed during Comic-Con of 2015, and he did have a serious concern, which I'd like to echo, which is he does worry about movies getting a little too corporate in that, say, and his exact quote was, let's say they announce Ant-Man 5 for 2039.
Oh yeah,
something like that. So I don't want them to plan that far ahead. And
the only people I think that can do that well is the Star Wars franchise, because it was announced when Disney took over they're probably going to do a Star Wars film a year for the next foreseeable future, but they didn't say what or when. Yeah. Or they just said we're plan for a Star Wars film every year for the next whenever. But again, they didn't announce what it was. Yeah. It's like, oh, but we all...
Keep it vague. Keep it vague if you do.
Us fans are like, well, it's got to be episode 7, 8, 9, then 10, 11, 12, and then 13, 14, 15. So, that's us fans speculating on what the facts are, which is we knew that there are films coming out. Now, when you have a Marvel did this very similar. It's like, hey, we're building this world. And they did this at the beginning. It was the first one. Iron Man, I think, started it off. So that was the very first film in the MCU. And I don't know if they announced it at that time. Maybe it was a little later, but they built upon that movie and have created like a 15 film universe of different superheroes, different types of heroes, different genres of the superhero film. That it's just been fantastic. So having maybe a secret story group behind everything, going, oh, we can do this. This is just not announce anything. That way you can change it if you need to. Yeah, that's the best way to go. Like you said, making the best movie you can first, and building on top of that. Because if you don't have a good foundation, the rest of your house is going to fall down. Yeah. So
I would just say to DC, being a DC guy, like if I do have any advice, don't do what Marvel does, which is announce, this next 5 films or what have you. Don't do like, I know Warner Brothers and Disney, these are 2 giant corporations, so I'm not going to say that one's better than the other. But I'm going to say that
they have to plan things out. Though.
Yeah, plan, but maybe keep it in the back of your head. Like I say, don't announce these projects without have anyone attached to it. They have a bad habit of doing that. I have friends who I have friends who tell me, James, aren't you excited for the Nightwing picture? I'm like, well, they announced it, but No one's directing it. No one's starring in it. We don't have
Yeah.
a script. I mean, sure, it'd be cool to see, but I don't believe it's going to happen in the near future. I'm just kind of pessimistic about that now. But for me, it's like again, copy what Nolan did. Try to make one good movie, and then I think that the best thing that DC can do is take a break after that and see what worked and what didn't. I'll give you a specific example, really, which is behind my nominating this topic, which was I do not give a damn about seeing Suicide Squad 2.
I agree with 110% with you.
But I do want to look forward to. I do look forward to David Ayer coming back for Gotham City Sirens. I think that he took the characters that were popular in Suicide Squad, namely Harley Quinn, and
Margot Robbie, go figure.
yeah, and wanted to make that into a successful movie. You take what was successful and you try to build off it. Don't just do a like a near pointless sequel.
Yeah, the Suicide Squad 2 was not set up for a sequel. The only reason it's getting a sequel is because it, for whatever reason, made money and it won a freaking Academy Award for
Oscar-winning Suicide Squad.
Yes, thank you, makeup department. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm like, it was a good standalone film for what it was. If you're gonna do anything, do solo films on the characters. I actually would really love to see a Deadshot movie. That to me would be fantastic because Will Smith's a great actor. You get a good you get a good superhero movie, and you get probably a good heartstring pulling family film too. Because you got to see that dynamic at the end of it. Because he was really concerned about his daughter going to a good school. Well, that was in the middle of it. Like, you make sure she goes to a white school or whatever the line was. It was fantastic.
It's like, and if her grades don't cut it, I need you to white people that shit.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So he obviously loved his kids in the movie, and that would be the best. See, I don't really want to see a Harley Quinn movie. I mean, I would love to see Margot Robbie in more of the hot pants. That'd be fine too.
Well, it'll be Margot Robbie, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman in a Gotham City Sirens
I'm
movie.
not interested in that.
I would love to expand the Bat universe more. Of course, I'm a Batman fan.
I know. I love Batman too, but that to me doesn't. I'm not trying to be sexist. Does not sound interesting to me because we've seen. I know it's like we've seen Poison Ivy before, but that performance was so horrible that
character needs to be redeemed.
That it does, but it left such a bad taste in my mouth with Joel Schumacher messing everything up that I don't nothing to do with that film at all. I don't want to touch. So, but maybe you're right. Maybe it needs to come back. If they do it right, then
actually, you just gave me an idea because last week we had Joe Manganiello say he does not know if he's going to be Deathstroke.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the villain in the standalone Batman movie. What about if they do a Deadshot movie and it could be Deadshot versus Deathstroke?
Villain versus villain.
Or like,
but they're
yeah.
See, Deathstroke and Deathstroke and Deadshot, they're mercenaries. They're not really bad guys. They're only bad guys when they get put into situations that they're the baddest in that situation.
I don't know. They could do a thing where they've both been hired to kill the same guy, or maybe one's been hired to protect somebody. Hey, now we're talking.
They work together to kill the Batman.
Well, they won't kill Batman, but they can try.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
they get hired by the Joker, who's in prison, or Arkham. No, hear me out.
Joker wants to kill Batman himself.
You have Joker, right? We'll use Jared Leto as Joker because I actually enjoyed his Joker for what it was. We'll use Jared Leto as Joker, who figured out because in that universe, that Joker killed Robin.
Right.
So maybe he's like, I want to go after the Bat. If I can kill the sidekick, I can kill the thing. And maybe he puts the whole thing. He gets his two best guys who are the best shots at killing Batman from far away, and that would be your story.
Yeah.
Because Deathstroke is very similar to Deadpool, where they both have a healing factor. The only difference is Deathstroke is a lot older than Deadpool.
Well, the creator of Deadpool said, "Yeah, I did rip off the character of Deathstroke, like
in a much more friendly way, or much more Merc with a mouth way."
Right. Yeah, like.
But let's be real. They all ripped off Wolverine.
Yeah, like in the healing factor way. Yeah. But I'm somehow. Yeah, like one is Wade Wilson and the other is Slade Wilson. Yeah, that's not a ripoff at all.
Nope. I think that's gonna have to do it though.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you for joining us for Better Than B, where we can tell all the studios how to make all the movies the proper way.
Yeah, that's right. Watch our channel and learn something. Just kidding. You guys make great films. and we'll patron your films in the theater no matter what. So
They'll be better
keep it
than
up.
B.
Yep, keep it up, and we'll be in line at the theater. Well, he'll be
All right.
showing it to you anyway.
All right. Thank you. Good night. And just because I'm wearing the shirt and we got a preseason game tonight, I'm going to say go Cowboys.
All right, it's not a sports show.
I tried.
I am a Cowboy fan, but we'll keep it with the movies. Anyway, guys, hit the subscribe button. Check out last week's episode and the episode after that, and have a good night. Bye bye.
Good night.